The European Union has approved plans for dividing the nationalised UK bank Northern Rock. This will see one division hold mortgages and repay state loans, while the other holds savers' money and carries out new lending, which will pave the way for its eventual sale. The European Commission says there will be caps on the bank as long as it's in public ownership. Press TV spoke with leading analyst Noam Chomsky in London about whether new measures will prevent future bank bailouts.
The bigger banks are bigger than before, more protected than before, encouraged to take risk more than before. The regulation is very thin. So there's every reason to expect, and I think business itself largely expects that we're laying the basis for the next crisis. But that's okay. I mean, taxpayer will bail you out. So.
With me in the studio for more on this is economist at RM Wealth Management, Marco Pietropoli. Hello, Mr. Pietropoli.
Good evening.
Do you agree with Mr. Chomsky that not enough's been done to secure, this financial crisis from happening again?
I agree totally with what he said. Nothing really has changed. The risk-taking culture, the product range is all the same. The bonus culture is all the same. In fact, the too big to fail has even got worse because the banks have been encouraged to merge. And
what does this mean for other part nationalised banks such as Lloyds and RBS?
Well, for Northern Rock, it's fairly easy because they are fully nationalised and it's fairly easy for the government to do what needs to be done. For Lloyds and RBS and many other of the very large banks, is going to be quite a battle to get them to restructure to create less systematic risk moving forward.
And how will this affect taxpayers?
Well, I think this move by the government about selling bits of Northern Rock is essentially because they were expecting to get paid most of their money back by the end of 2010, the taxpayers' bailout. But it seems that this is going to take far longer. So the way of splitting the banks up means that they've got something to sell in the short term so they can get back some of the money that they've put into to the firm, and that in the short term may be better for taxpayers, but in the long run it's difficult to tell. And
what's the EU's role in all of this with regard to bank regulation?
Well, I think that regulation is going to have to be global, and it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to be an uphill battle to actually confront the banks, get them to deleverage, get them to restructure to reduce the overall systematic risk. The EU and many other intergovernmental organisations are going to play a key role, but it's going to take time.
And how does this reflect on Gordon Brown?
Well, it's difficult to tell in the near term. I don't think that what Gordon Brown has done over the last couple of years is going to be felt necessarily for a while to come. The ballooning budget deficit is going to become an increasing problem, especially if the economy doesn't bounce back, as many expect that it will.
Okay, thank you for that, and that's all we have time for. That was Marco Pietropoli, an economist with RM Wealth Management. The new socialist government in Greece faces a new challenge to crack down on extremist groups following an attack on an Athens police station. Gunmen on a motorcycle opened fire on police officers, leaving 6 wounded Tuesday night. No group has claimed responsibility. However, far-left militant groups are suspected. Extremist groups have stepped up bombings and shootings in the wake of riots in Greece following the fatal police shooting of a teenage boy last year. Hundreds of activists, officials, and health workers have gathered in Moscow for the 3rd AIDS conference in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. The conference hopes to gather momentum to tackle the growing AIDS epidemic. Our correspondent Svetlana Korkina has this report.
Yuri is a young, energetic man. 10 years ago, he learned news which split his life into before and after. He tested positive for HIV.
I was 20. To me, the diagnosis sounded like death. I was shocked. It took me very long to accept it and learn to live with it.
More than 30 million people worldwide are infected with HIV. Experts and patients from Eastern Europe and Central Asia gathered to discuss how to stop the growing epidemic.
110,000 new infections per year in the region. 60,000 deaths per year in the region.
They say statistics can be changed by achieving universal access to HIV treatment, prevention, care and support.
Universal access means nearly 7 million people would get treatment, 2.5 million new infections could be averted, and 1 million lives saved.
The head of the UNAIDS believes it's a question of the near future.
We can first, for example, virtually eliminate the transmission from the mother to the child by 2015. It's possible to have a new generation free of HIV, which is wonderful.
Scientists have been working to develop a vaccine against HIV, but they admit it could be more than a decade away. Svetlana Korkina, Press TV, Moscow.
The Georgian Prime Minister Nikolaos Glauri has met with Spanish Foreign Minister Miguel Moratinos in Madrid to discuss their bilateral relations. The visit is expected to boost Georgian relations with the European Union. Moratinos says Spain will promote Georgia's relations with the EU during its European Union presidency at the start of next year. He's also stressed Spain's commitment to Georgia's territorial integrity and the EU's promise to uphold security in the region. The trial of a former Nazi SS soldier has been adjourned shortly after its opening in Aachen, Germany. Heinrich Bora admitted to killing 3 Dutch civilians during his captivity after World War II. But the former Nazi has managed to avoid prosecution for decades.
I feel good. I think I have finally reached what I was hoping for since many years.
Bora says that the murders were committed in response to attacks by the Dutch resistance. His statements made after the war, where he describes the killings in detail, are expected to form the basis for the prosecution's case. Bora was sentenced to death in the Netherlands in 1949. This was later commuted to life imprisonment, but he managed to escape. That's all we have time for, but please stay tuned and join us again tomorrow for the latest on Inside Europe.